This is a book review of Invasion 1984 from the pages of Battle. It's by John Wagner, Alan Grant, Eric Bradbury. It's 128 pages, predominantly all in black and white. See black and white there. And it's from Rebellion, part of their Treasury of British Comics. The book came out in 2019. 128 pages of brilliant, superb action, or battle, I suppose, since the title. Now, it's got all the details about Rebellion, etc., all the various production people, and obviously starts straight into the story. Now, this was a regular weekly story, and it actually gives the dates. So it was the 26th of March of 1983 to 31st December 1983, all the way through to the new year, which is pretty good. So, got that. Introduction by Barry Tomlinson. It's quite nice to always have an introduction. Also at the back it's got details about John Wagner, Alan Grant and Eric Bradbury as well. The actual books, the actual stories, there's the first page. Invasion 1984. Starts today. Well, that's pretty good. Anyway, starts today, and it's generally, and I don't think it changes, 3 pages per comic. So you'd get 3 pages, and then obviously you'd have to wait another week to find out what was going to happen. Now, you could read it like that, but now this is the pleasure of getting them in these lovely volumes, as you can read it. And I read this nearly in under an hour, and what a great read. I loved it. So you got this invasion force. Now, you don't particularly learn too much about the alien planet, other than a little bit of the background, but there's not much detail there. Clearly, they're coming along with a pretty powerful load of ships, and mankind, of course, goes out. And this is not spoiling anything because this is the first couple of pages. Well, we think where it's going to, because you can tell from the front what the story's going to be about. It's not going to be about nice, cheerful aliens. Well, we don't survive very long. As astronauts get blasted straight away. That was a good option to do. I'm going to go out and hello. However, everyone then starts fleeing, obviously, the major cities, because for some weird reason they always think that the major cities are going to be the ones that are going to be hit. Why? Do the aliens know that London, New York, etc. are the major places? For all they know, unless they've researched it, it could be Bangor or some, who knows? So that's always a ridiculous story. Also, how would they know what the who's actually on the planet is the starting point? At the end of the day, they're coming to this planet. Unless they've sent previous scouts, they wouldn't know that mankind is going to defend it or not. Why would they? The ruling race on this planet could be ants or spiders, for all they know. Anyway, that's a minor point. That's always a criticism I always have in these books. I always think, well, yeah, okay, but it makes an assumption that, that we are the superior race. They might think the amoeba or bacteria are the superior race, or viruses. However, on to the next thing. It's a great little story. So you've got everyone leaving London. And then you've got also, again, I don't want to show too much of this because, of course, read the book, because I think it's just an absolute joy to read. And you've got this initial, there's some of the art. The art is superb. The art just flows all the way through. Now, there's nothing, amazing, the art in terms of the panel structure. It's just a really 5 panels per page or 6 panels per page, just bang, 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 bang. But it tells the story in really economical terms. And I just think, and the artwork is just superb, just absolutely lovely. You don't get confused about who the characters are, which I always think is a key thing. There's nothing worse, I find, in some comics. You get a comic and you've got characters that all got black hair or all look virtually the same. And after a while you start thinking, didn't they die? Or is that character the villain? Or is that character... I don't know after a while. It's very hard to tell sometimes. I need a t-shirt where they say Alan, Bob. But other than that, some of this, you've really got very distinctive characters. Key thing. I love that. And also, I love, it's coming down, you've got this, it's actually like Independence Day. This is like Independence Day, obviously, many years afterwards. But it's similar, you've got this massive ship, and of course, we got problems. Our technology clearly is rubbish. We've obviously spent too much time doing other things than actually developing technology that's pretty amazing against these aliens. And they come down, they're pretty fearsome looking creatures as well. They're not pleasant. But you've got the main character. You've got this character here, Ed, who, of course, key to the story all the way through. Well, there's actually some other great characters that are very useful. But the aliens are pretty nasty. There's an alien. I mean, they look, you wouldn't want to meet one of those on a... Definitely pretty scary. And they got some pretty fearsome weapons as well. They're tanks. They're not like our tanks, which are pretty fearsome looking, but these have got spikes jutting out. You would not want to run into one of those because you would be skewered within an inch of your life. And they, of course, go down to the stations. There's all the problems. I love the trains and everything. And there's obviously people, it's like every man for themselves kind of thing. But there's some great scenes here. They really take over control quite quickly. This is economical story. There's a bang, bang, bang story. You're running to about 3 strips. 3 of the 9 pages in, you've reached countries taken over already. We've wiped out. But I love, they got Sgt Fury. Well, they haven't got Sgt Fury, but they've got these sort of this squad that are really absolutely amazingly vicious. I mean, they're the sort of people you really want, the Dirty Dozen kind of thing, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Of course, they call the aliens spooks. And you've got the Storm Squad, as they're called. They're like ex-SAS, obviously even greater than SAS. They're like virtually unstoppable. And then, they're the sort of people you want, obviously, at this point. Because, obviously, there's some great scenes in here that I'm not going to spoil the story, because I just, from this point, just say that you've got this Storm Squad who are brilliant. I really love, and it is violent all the way through. There is no messing around in this. This is no sort of like, you get someone gets shot through and they fall back. This, people get literally cut, sliced, whatever, in half. People are getting zapped, and it mixes quite a few other elements of the horror genre as well. It's not just science fiction and fantasy. This also has got some, without saying anything what happens later in the story, there are lots of different elements, some very close to home. You've got, like, here, helicopters crashing into the ground, characters obviously coming out, people, rocket launchers, blasting ships, everything getting scattered all over the place. This is full on characters die. The Storm Squad are not like your Invincible, not like Sgt Fury, where you've got, I don't know if any of them did die in the end, in Sgt Fury and the Howling Commandos, but they never seem to. But here, these people are regularly getting bumped off. Actually, I don't know how many are in the squad, because there seems to be quite a lot of them meet grisly ends all the way through the book. But so do the aliens as well. And it's lots of like buildings collapsing. There's mass destruction all the way through this. I say it's 3 pages each thing, so you would have to wait a week for it. And this one, I'm just telling you a bit, not spoiling it, you can see from the cover. No spoiler particularly, because next week, the total destruction of London. No messing. You've got really, it's got the full cover inside here. Battle. Also, apparently, it's along top, explosive second episode of Action Force. Well, obviously, that's not in here. But obviously, there were other stories in Battle. Hopefully, they will bring out some of those other issues as well, other stories as well. Well, all the way through, there's obviously mankind has a few problems by the end of this book. And I'm just going to show, let's say there is some colour. I mentioned mainly black and white, but I'll show you some of the colour now. There's the colour. So there's a little bit, but it's a couple of pages, 3 or 4 pages at most, with the like the cover of Battle. Now, I don't know what issue this was of Battle. Strange. Can't see the, no. Doesn't seem to have a number on it, which is very unusual. And they normally, obviously, it's got the date. You've got 16th of July, 1983. So that was clearly about a third or so way through the story. And it's, all the way through to the back. You've got little bits of list, see details of biography of the writer and also artist. In the 80s, not all ETs were friends, and that's definitely the case in this. Did I love this book? I absolutely thought, everyone would say, it's dated. Well, all these stories there's always going to be some elements of dated. Obviously, people didn't have mobiles. There's no people suddenly think, look, there's contact, there's some aliens just going off. No one did that. It's just Obviously, information throughout the land was limited. But of course, I'm certain the aliens have got technology. They would have used our mobile phone network against us as well. They were a pretty advanced bunch, this lot. They didn't take enemies, obviously humans particularly. So you can see the general gist of it from the cover. I think that really sums up the whole book. I think that's even though I don't think we actually see Piccadilly Circus go up in flames. That is pretty staggering sort of scene. You wouldn't want to be around then. Absolutely superb story. I read this fairly quickly, hour and a half. It was a really great read, just flowed all the way through, and I just wanted to keep reading more and more, which is, of course, what you want in a book. You really want, how is this going to happen? What's going to happen to the Stormstorm? What's going to happen to Ed? What's going to happen to his family? What's going to happen to the rest of the country? And also the rest of the world, of course. I mean, even though, of course, this is very, very, very centric on the UK. Obviously, they haven't just invaded the UK. They've obviously invaded the entire world, and clearly the rest of the world is having similar sort of problems. But anyway, totally superb. Totally recommended.